there hailing India's growth story, saying that the strength of the country is not to suppress the weak, rather to support the weaker economy. Is going on to say that India is going to be the next future superpower. But moving on to news from across the globe, in news from China, where more than 20 people lost their lives in a fire that broke out in a hospital at China's capital, Beijing. The fire has since been extinguished and rescue efforts have now concluded.
21 people died in a fire at a Beijing hospital that forced the evacuation of dozens of patients. The staff removed 71 patients after the fire broke out in the inpatient department of Beijing Shengfeng Hospital. Videos of the fire circulating on social media show black smoke billowing from the building, with some people climbing out of the windows using what appears to be makeshift ropes made out of bed sheets. Many others took refuge on air conditioning units outside the windows. Chinese state media said that the fire has been extinguished and the rescue work has been completed. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. Agency report, Republic TV.
And that's all we have for you in this edition of Live and Breaking, but do not go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, all the action from poll-bound state Karnataka, where elections are all set to take place on the 10th of May. And as India's economy leaps, Apple CEO Tim Cook to meet Prime Minister Modi today.
$13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
You come from the Northeast, but then the concept of integrated India, Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat Ka, this concept is very relevant to every state and specifically the Northeast. So I think it's the balance and between that, and I think the leadership along with the flexibility in the constitutional framework that we have is really what will allow this beautiful nation of ours, which has this complexity, yet, as you said, the nation first approach is really what is a way to move forward in. And so I think there is always a way forward, respecting the different communities, respecting the difference that we have, and yet keeping the nation first is really the way forward that we need.
5G सर्विस जो कि एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी सर्विस के तौर पर माना जा रहा है। भारत सबसे अधिक तीव्र गति से डिजिटलीकरण करने वाली इकोनॉमी है।
That at every point, any agency, whether it's the ED, the CBI, the ACB, questions need to be raised on them?
I personally think that in a democratic country, Parliament must have full control of the agencies as well. Why do we make them into what is called a holy cow, that nobody can touch them? They must be made answerable. You may not interfere in a specific investigation, but at the end of the day, they must be made accountable to Parliament.
As a young man from Ladakh, how do you see the abrogation of 370 and now being united through that step?
केवल 370 ही नहीं हटा, एक सक्षम राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए, एक देश को मजबूत करने का जो निर्णय पहले लेना चाहिए था, जो अटके हुए थे 70 सालों से, वो हुआ है। और ये केवल एक ही सरकार का एक ही अचीवमेंट में नहीं गिना जाएगा। आने वाले पीढ़ी जन्म जन्म तक इसको याद रखेंगे।
Dear viewers, in a few days we are bringing to you once again the Republic Summit. And this year our theme is fittingly about how this is a time of transformation. Yes, this is a time of transformation for an India that is growing 4 times faster than the world average. It is a time of transformation for an India whose manufacturing exports grow 40% year on year on the back of COVID, while China witnesses a major loss. This is a time of transformation, of opportunity for India that has let go of the dollar hangover, and the rupee is closer to being accepted as international currency.
Well, the third edition of the Republic Summit will be held in the national capital this month. The biggest names, the biggest newsmakers and the biggest agents of change and transformation in India will be at the Republic Summit once again. So stand by for what will be by far India's biggest news event by miles. Now, India's transformation is for us to celebrate together, to take pride in it together. What does this time of transformation mean to you? Tell us what this transformation means to you and send us your video on it via WhatsApp on 730-443-4381. The most compelling responses will get in-house seats to India's biggest news event, that's the Republic Summit. So join us in celebrating this time of transformation. You are watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV. Here are the headlines. Atik shooters will be produced in court today. The Uttar Pradesh SIT seeks remand. Landmark hearing to recognize same-sex marriages continues in the Supreme Court. The battle for Karnataka heats up. Mega road shows are lined up as big wigs are set to file their nominations. Well, after the launch of the first Apple physical store, Apple CEO Tim Cook will be meeting the Prime Minister today.
Is not correct. There's discrimination in his attitudes towards women, and over the few months I have felt that he has mentally harassed me a lot of times.
Assam Congress Youth President alleges harassment by B.V. Srinivas as High Command ignored complaints. And unrest continues in Sudan. Death toll rises to 270. Over 2,000 people have critical injuries. Well, the men who allegedly killed Atiq Ahmed and his brother have now been brought to court in the double murder case. We are told that the two of them have been brought to the Prayagraj court to remember that the police has been wanting their remand. In fact, right now they're in judicial custody, but the SIT, which is looking into the double murders, is likely to ask for their custody from the court. We're going to shortly get across to our viewers the pictures that we are now getting, but the assailants have been brought to a court in Prayagraj. What we're given to understand is that this is the CJM court where these killers, alleged killers of Ashraf have been got now. Do remember there have been a lot of developments in this case in the past 3 days or so, ever since this assassination took place. Atiq and Ashraf, of course, were killed in night time by three men who were posing to be journalists. Right now, the three men who were posing to be journalists and killed Atiq, the mafia don Atiq Ahmed and his brother Ashraf, have been taken to a Prayagraj court. Now, the SIT, which is investigating this, is likely to seek for their remand. Let's go across to Piyush Ori, who's reporting live from Prayagraj on this. Piyush, tell us what's happening.
So yes, good morning and good morning to all our viewers who are viewing us at the moment. And right now I'm reporting from the Prayagraj District Court, where the three accused who have been involved in killing Atiq Ahmed and Ashraf Ahmed have been produced over here at the court. And the special investigative team that has been constituted to investigate this case has now finally set a petition from the court in order to get the remand of these three accused so that they can investigate the entire matter. Because whatever one say, there are a lot of questions being raised of why and what was the motive of these three people actually killing Ashraf and Atiq, that also in full public view. Now, these three people have been giving a lot of dodgy answers on the interrogation, so that's why now a special investigative team has been constituted and a petition now has been put in front of the Chief Judicial Magistrate over here at the Prayagraj District Court, where these officials are now going to get the custody of these three accused in order to get the core of the matter and also get to understand that what actually was the reason that these three accused actually killed Atiq and his brother Ashraf in the full public view. Back to the studio.
All right. Piyush, even as you're reporting, of course, we are told that the SIT, which is investigating the double murders, is looking perhaps at the wider angle of conspiracy, because three of these people did not seem to know each other, but did come together later to carry out this murder.
You rightly mentioned, Nupur, that the SIT is trying to look into the wider angle of what exactly was the reason that these three people who belong to different parts of Uttar Pradesh, namely Banda, Kaushambi and Hamirpur, actually got together to take out this objective of eliminating Ashraf and Atiq. Now, what we have come to know is that these three people, even though they are too young, have got criminal records against them, and they have been given the initial answer which was given by them of making this objective fulfilled was that they wanted to become famous by killing Atiq and Ashraf, who are one of the most prominent dons in Uttar Pradesh scene of crime. But yes, there are a lot of questions that needs to be answered. To begin with, it is believed that these three people, how did they get such expensive weapons to carry out this crime? Also, who was helping them in trying to get them know the location where Atiq and Ashraf would come? And lastly, did they do the complete recce of Atiq and Ashraf about their whereabouts in Prayagraj? And all these things now needs to be known, that these things needs to be ascertained, and that's why even after getting the judicial custody, the SIT, which has been constituted by the UP police, now is all set to get the custody of these three people, so that finally we get to know that what actually was the reason of these three accused trying to commit this ghastly crime. Back to the studio.
Now, even as this takes place, on the side, we're also told that the government is looking perhaps into, how this happened, essentially trying to pinpoint the exact reason for, somebody to be killed while he was in police custody.
You rightly mentioned, Nupur, once again, for a person who has got more than 100 crimes against him, for a person who had rivalry with several people, not only in Prayagraj, but also in different parts of Uttar Pradesh and also the National Capital Region, definitely questions are being raised that was this killing that was committed because people wanted to vent out and people wanted to eliminate Atiq Ahmed and Ashraf Ahmed because they had much more beans to spill. So yes, definitely because this dramatic murder has been now carried out in full public view, there are a lot of loopholes which is being given as far as the answers given by the three accused who have been arrested by the UP police. So definitely now a special investigative team has been constituted so to understand that what exactly was the real motive of these three people to commit this murder, because so far the answers which have been given by them to the police and all the investigative authorities, there are several loopholes, and this definitely now needs to be fixed at the earliest by the UP police, who are also being questioned of why actually such a dreaded criminal in form of Atiq and his brother Ashraf was killed, even though they had protection of UP police. Back to in the studio.
All right, so the three men who are in their 20s, we are told, are being brought to an SJM court in Prayagraj, where the special investigation team is likely to seek their custody. Piyush reporting on this from Prayagraj. Thank you. And here's a quick look at what else is making news across the world this morning. A parking garage collapsed in Lower Manhattan's financial district, killing one worker, injuring 5 and crushing cars as concrete floors fell on top of each other like a stack of pancakes. People described a fearsome rumbling followed by screams. Democrats' efforts to temporarily replace the California Senator Dianne Feinstein on the Senate Judiciary Committee met quick opposition from Republicans, complicating their plan as some of President Joe Biden's judicial nominees remain on hold during her extended medical absence. President Joe Biden has signed an executive order that contains more than 50 directives to increase access to childcare and improved work life for caregivers. Smoke could be seen rising from buildings across Khartoum as massive gunfire and explosions echoed through the streets of the capital city. More than 280 people have been killed and over 1,800 wounded since fighting erupted. A U.S. convoy was also fired upon. Khartoum's hospitals were thrown into chaos by the explosion of violence between Sudan's two top generals. At the Ahmed Kasem Children's Hospital, medical staff evacuated all cases except the ones that were in intensive care. Wall Street journalist was presented before a Moscow court on charges of espionage in Russia. This is the first time that a U.S. journalist was detained in Russia for espionage since the Cold War. Now, the journalist faces up to 20 years in prison for trying to obtain classified information on a Russian arms company. A Russian judge ruled that the American journalist Evan Gershkovich must remain behind bars on espionage charges. Gershkovich and the U.S. government vehemently denied these allegations. The Wall Street Journal reporter is the first U.S. correspondent since the Cold War to be detained in Russia on spying allegations, and his arrest has rattled journalists in the country. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made a trip to positions in the front line Tuesday to stiffen the resolve of soldiers battling Vladimir Putin's troops. Zelensky visited units in the city of Donetsk province, where fierce battles are taking place, his office said. During the visit, he heard first-hand reports about the battlefield situation and handed out awards. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he had a phone call with the U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and invited him to visit Ukraine. During the conversation, he thanked McCarthy for the U.S.'s unflinching support of Ukraine in its fight against the Russian invasion. The Swiss President Alain Berset strongly rejected calls from the EU to supply weapons and munitions to Ukraine. Berset highlighted that Switzerland has frozen Russian assets and also pledged about 1.8 billion Swiss francs to help Ukraine with humanitarian and development assistance. Now, even as violence continues in Khartoum in Sudan, we are given to understand that the Indian government is closely coordinating with various other countries to ensure the safety security of Indian nationals in a violence-hit country. Now, do remember that there are believed to be about 31 to 35 Indian nationals who are currently stuck inside Sudan, even as fighting between two groups is raging on. Now, the External Affairs Minister has said that India is closely monitoring the situation and trying to make sure that they are able to evacuate all the Indians who are stuck inside Sudan. Let's go across to our Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor, who now joins me on the broadcast. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, give us more details in terms of the plan that perhaps the Indian government is looking at to be able to evacuate Indians who are stranded there.
Well, so far as India is concerned, Nupur, there are 1,000 plus, perhaps more Indian origin people or Indian citizens working there in Sudan taken together, and it's a difficult situation with the fight breaking out between the country's army and the paramilitary forces headed respectively by two generals, and essentially it's a power struggle between the two officers, which is leading to this situation, which has seen in the last 4 days about 300 people dying and chaos reigning on the streets of Khartoum, the capital of the country. India has issued 3 specific advisories to Indian nationals to take care of themselves and not move out on the streets, and yet we have seen at least one Indian citizen dying to this civil war panning out in Sudan. Now this advisory and statement coming in that we are not just closely watching the situation but coordinating with other global agencies and other nations as well. Remember, yesterday we had some pictures or reports coming in of troopers belonging to the paramilitary, the RSF, storming into some UN facilities, and there is clear danger to even the diplomatic teams of not just India but other nations and multinational organizations. And the situation is dire, obviously. There was 24-hour ceasefire that was announced yesterday, but it seems that on the ground it has had less impact than it was intended to have. So I think a fluid situation there in Sudan, Nupur, Indian agencies and the Ministry of External Affairs coordinating attempts to, if need be, evacuate some of them. But then for that, the ceasefire has to hold. Remember, we saw those pictures of international airlines, civilian aircraft being bombed and, being put on fire at the Khartoum International Airport and Merawi International Airport, even as they were parked there. So even for evacuations to happen, there has to be a semblance of peace to prevail, at least around the international airport there. And till that happens, the advisory is stand that anyone who's there, so far as Indian nationals go, they should be taking care of themselves the best possible manner. And there are numbers issued and they should be connecting with our diplomatic team there, even as agencies make attempts to create a situation where, if need be, evacuations can be carried out, not just for Indian nationals, but obviously even other nations wanting to do it.
Now, Abhishek, even as, the larger advisory that's been given out from India suggests that people should shelter in place where they are, things look quite difficult over there, don't they? Because, pictures that came out yesterday from the Khartoum International Airport seem to suggest that, fighting is raging on in areas near there as well. So, in terms of, international agencies, how far can they really, help resolve this and at least effect a ceasefire so foreign nationals can be brought out?
Well, you see, Nupur, the situation is so bad that even the UN staff and their employees, the UN employees and, even other international organizations that have been working. Remember, Sudan has been a war-ravaged, civil strife-torn nation for a while. And in fact, we saw how a division of the nation happened a few years back, between Sudan and South Sudan, essentially vis-a-vis along the religious lines, with the North, Muslim North versus Christian South. But the situation now is internal. It is essentially an ego battle and a turf war, a power struggle happening between two generals heading the official army and the paramilitary force, the RSF, and the military, of course, headed by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. And then we have the RSF, which is headed by another general, and they are jousting for power, and that has led to this latest round of fighting that's going on. The RSF headed by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. And the fact that the truce is not holding clearly suggests that it's going to be a few days before any sense of normalcy prevails. Pending that, the global community obviously hopes that at least a ceasefire which is implemented properly around the airport helps whosoever wants to evacuate their citizens and those working for international organizations, their safety is taken care of, they're safely evacuated.
All right, Abhishek Kapoor, appreciate your joining us on the broadcast. Thank you very much for that information. Let's also quickly now go across and listen in to the U.S. comment that has come in. The U.S., of course, has appealed for a ceasefire to be effectuated between the two warring sides.
Look, the U.S. Embassy in Khartoum's security alert on April 16th stated that due to uncertain security situation in Khartoum and closures of the airport, Americans should have no expectations of a U.S. government-coordinated evacuation at this time. But we expect that will remain the case. We have been urging American citizens not to travel to Sudan since at least back in October of last year. When the State Department travel advisory was set at a level 4, which means do not travel, that's what a level 4 means. It is imperative that U.S. citizens in Sudan make their own arrangements to stay safe in these difficult circumstances. We advise U.S. citizens to remain sheltered in place and to contact the U.S. Embassy if they need assistance, and that is currently where we are at this time.
Well, you are watching Republic TV. This is live and breaking. We step into a short break. On the other side, we bring you more news, including the marathon hearing in the Supreme Court over pleas concerning same-sex marriage likely to continue today. And the Assam Congress Youth President alleges harassment by VV Srinivas as the High Command ignored complaints.
The tone of the leadership I convey to Prime Minister Modi of India.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी G20 इवेंट के दौरान नेताओं के साथ द्विपक्षीय बैठक करेंगे.
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently, climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. Chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions to the challenges faced by the Global South. I'll challenge popular opinion at India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit, which is by far India's most high-profile event. I'll see you there.
You come from the Northeast, but then the concept of integrated India, Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat Ka, this concept is very relevant to every state and specifically the Northeast.
So I think it's the balance and between that, and I think the leadership along with the flexibility in the constitutional framework that we have is really what will allow this beautiful nation of ours, which has this complexity, yet, as you said, the nation first approach is really what is a way to move forward in. And so I think there is always a way forward, respecting the different communities, respecting the difference that we have, and yet keeping the nation first is really the way forward that we need.
Dear viewers, in a few days we are bringing to you once again the Republic Summit. And this year our theme is fittingly about how this is a time of transformation. Yes, this is a time of transformation for an India that is growing 4 times faster than the world average. It is a time of transformation for an India whose manufacturing exports grow 40% year on year on the back of COVID, while China witnesses a major loss. This is a time of transformation, of opportunity for India that has let go of the dollar hangover, and the rupee is closer to being accepted as international currency. And nearly 60% of all digital payments are already UPI.
Now, parking garage collapsed Tuesday in Lower Manhattan's financial district, killing 1 worker, injuring 5 and crushing cars as concrete floors fell on top of each other.
A loud sound was heard in Lower Manhattan's financial district as a parking garage collapsed. Huge blocks of concrete fell atop of cars parked near a 3-story building. Watch how people in the locality ran helter-skelter to save their lives from the falling building. The incident has claimed 1 life while leaving 5 others injured. A garage employee was rescued by a neighboring roof after being trapped on an upper floor. Authorities believe that they had accounted for everyone inside the building, but searches continue to ensure everyone's safety. Agency report for Republic TV.
You are with Republic TV. On the other side, President Biden signs an executive order asking for increased access to childcare.
Dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases of corruption and disproportionate assets. This will ensure that at a local level, no officer can go about saying, hey, I've come to inspect you without the system approving it.
You come from the northeast, but then the concept of integrated India, Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat Ka, this concept is very relevant to every state and specifically the northeast.
So I think it's the balance and between that, and I think the leadership along with the flexibility in the constitutional framework that we have is really what will allow this beautiful nation of ours, which has this complexity, yet, as you said, the nation first approach is really what is a way to move forward in. And so I think there is always a way forward, respecting the different communities, respecting the difference that we have, and yet keeping the nation first is really the way forward that we need.
5G सर्विस जो कि एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी सर्विस के तौर पर माना जा रहा है। भारत सबसे अधिक तीव्र गति से डिजिटलीकरण करने वाली इकोनॉमी है।
That at every point, any agency, whether it's the ED, the CBI, the ACB, questions need to be raised on them?
I personally think that in a democratic country, Parliament must have full control of the agencies as well. Why do we make them into what is called a holy cow, that nobody can touch them? They must be made answerable. You may not interfere in a specific investigation, but at the end of the day, they must be made accountable to Parliament.
As a young man from Ladakh, how do you see the abrogation of 370 and now being united through that step?
केवल 370 ही नहीं हटा, एक सक्षम राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए, एक देश को मजबूत करने का जो निर्णय पहले लेना चाहिए था, जो अटके हुए थे 70 सालों से, वो हुआ है। और ये केवल एक ही सरकार का एक ही अचीवमेंट में नहीं गिना जाएगा। आने वाले पीढ़ी जन्म जन्म तक इसको याद रखेंगे।
Dear viewers, in a few days we are bringing to you once again the Republic Summit. And this year our theme is fittingly about how this is a time of transformation. Yes, this is a time of transformation for an India that is growing 4 times faster than the world average. It is a time of transformation for an India whose manufacturing exports grow 40% year on year on the back of COVID, while China witnesses a
Royals take on the Lucknow Super Giants today. Both teams are at the summit of the IPL points table. The Mumbai Indians skipper Rohit Sharma lauded Arjun Tendulkar's performance in his team's victory over the Sunrisers Hyderabad, saying that the medium pacer has clarity of thought when it comes to bowling. Tendulkar, playing his second IPL game, delivered under pressure as he defended 20 runs of the final over to secure a 14-run victory for MI. Veteran opener David Warner has been retained in Australia's squad for the start of the Ashes series in England and is still in the mix for the World Test Championship final against India. Speculation over the 36-year-old left-hander's future in cricket's longest format mounted when he was injured on Australia's recent tour of India. You are with Republic. Coming up next, we get you the details of the big political meets that are lined up in Karnataka.
Do you think there is a certain motivated opposition that is trying to wield control over the top court?
Anyone who chooses to misbehave with the Supreme Court and causes misdemeanor should be taken to task by the court itself. I think we just need some judges just needs to get angry with this kind of behavior and take a call on it and take contempt notice on such people. Things will improve automatically.
The crown of the leadership I convey to Prime Minister Modi of India.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी G20 इवेंट के दौरान नेताओं के साथ द्विपक्षीय बैठक करेंगे।
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently, climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. Chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions for the challenges faced by the Global South. I'll challenge.
Hello and welcome. India's biggest news event is back. The third edition of the Republic Summit will be held in the national capital this month. The biggest names, the biggest newsmakers, the biggest agents of change and transformation in India will be at the Republic Summit once again this year. So stand by for what will be by far India's biggest news event by miles. India's transformation is for us to celebrate together, to take pride in together. What does this time of transformation mean to you? Tell us what this transformation means to you and send us your video on it via WhatsApp on 7304434381. The most compelling responses will get in-house seats to India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit. Join us in celebrating this time of transformation. It's time now for Live and Breaking. As we move on, and you're watching Republic TV, I'm Rupma with you. Here are the headlines. Atik shooters to be produced in court today. Uttar Pradesh SIT seeks remand. Landmark hearing to recognize same-sex marriages continues in the Supreme Court. Battle for Karnataka heats up. Mega roadshows lined up as bigwigs set to file nominations. As India's economy soars, Apple CEO Tim Cook to meet Prime Minister Modi today.
His attitude towards women is not correct. There's discrimination in his attitudes towards women, and over the few months I have felt that he has mentally harassed me a lot of times.
And Assam Congress Youth President alleges harassment by Bhave Srinivas, says High Command ignored complaints. Unrest continues in Sudan. Death toll rises to 270. Over 2,000 suffer critical injuries. And in breaking news that we are getting, that's fresh news coming in, the murder of gangster brothers Atiq and Ashraf have triggered a massive face-off in the country. Mahesh Jethmalani has launched a scathing attack on Kapil Sibal with enumerating the facts of Atiq's crimes, enumerating what he has done in his life. This comes after Sibal's comments on the murder of democracy in favor of Atiq. And this is the tweet. The murder of a democracy call has been called out. Apologists for Atiq and Ashraf. And this is the tweet of Mahesh Jethmalani in which he slams Kapil Sibal. The murder of democracy comments called out and says that murder of democracy was Atiq was the prime accused in the 2005 murder of Raju Pal. The motive was that Pal won the Allahabad West Assembly seat, which Atiq vacated for his brother Khalid Azim, so he could contest as an MP from Phulpur. After Pal's murder, Khalid Azim won the MLA seat. Kapil Sibal has never called out this politically motivated killing as a murder of democracy. Suppose he does not consider and free and fair elections the hallmark of democracy. So this is the scathing tweet. Very significant words there being used by Mahesh Jethmalani as Kapil Sibal refers to the killing of Atiq Ahmed, the gangster whose life is a story of killings, kidnappings and extortion. Proof of that emerging in various ways, whose reign of terror continued even when he was incarcerated in Sabarmati jail and elsewhere. As Kapil Sibal calls his killing by other gangsters a murder of democracy, Mahesh Jethmalani calls out the comment. And joining me now is our legal expert, Rhythm. Mahesh Jethmalani fact checks Kapil Sibal. Kapil Sibal had earlier referred to the killing of Atiq Ahmed as a murder of democracy. If you could take our viewers through the very significant and scathing comments in that tweet by Mahesh Jethmalani.
Not the first time that Mahesh Jethmalani calls out the block of Kapil Sibal when it comes to the Atiq apologists, the glamorization of this encounter that has taken place by certain people. In fact, when Kapil Sibal called this a politically motivated killing and he said it's a murder of democracy, today the fact sheet is out by top lawyer and MP in the Rajya Sabha, Mahesh Jethmalani. I think the tweet is extremely important because it's ironic that Kapil Sibal used the word murder of democracy when Mahesh Jethmalani says the prime accused in the 2005 murder of Raju Pal was Atiq Ahmed. Then he says Why did Atik really kill Pal? It was because he won certain assembly seats which Atik vacated for his brother so that he could win from there. After Pal's murder, his brother won the MLA seat. So this kind of fact detail clearly shows that Atik Ahmed, who was wanted and prime accused in a murder case, murdered him only because he wanted a seat in a election. When Kapil Sibal calls this out and calls this murder of democracy, Mahesh Jethmalani says he possibly doesn't consider fair and free elections as the hallmark of democracy. What Atik Ahmed did with that murder is try and genuinely murder democracy. Kapil Sibal, even earlier yesterday, had been called out. His bluff had been called out by Mahesh Jethmalani. Today, once again, an attack on Kapil Sibal. He also said yesterday it's unfortunate that senior lawyers like Kapil Sibal give out a premature surmise that's not needed. In fact, yesterday he said Atik was a criminal involved in 100 FIRs. The brothers were organizing the murder of key witnesses. Umesh Pal was a lawyer who was murdered in cold blood by his son. He also said, while Sibal is talking and lamenting about the murder of democracy, he's not once condemned the reign of terror the Ahmeds unleashed, the subversion of their own trial they caused. Perhaps, he also made this comment right in the end of the tweet yesterday. It was his obligation to the Samajwadi Party who elected him to the Rajya Sabha that he was discharging. But fact of the matter is, politicians need to rise above politics. They need to rise and understand that free and fair elections are the hallmark of democracy. And these kind of words and glamorizing of the death of a criminal should not be done by any of them. Least of all lawyers and politicians like Kapil Sibal.
Right, Rhythm, many thanks for joining us there. And well, viewers, you heard that our executive editor legal, Rhythm Bharadwaj, on Mahesh Jethmalani, top lawyers fact-checking of Kapil Sibal after Sibal's murder of democracy claim over the killing of Atik Ahmed and his brother, Ashraf. Let's move on now to other stories that we're tracking. Youth Congress National President Srinivas Bhave has issued a legal notice to Assam Unit Chief Ankita Datta hours after she accused him of being a sexist and discriminating against her based on gender. Srinivas said in the notice that Datta was defaming him in preparation of leaving the party and joining the BJP to ensure the closure of cases against her. This comes after Ankita, in a series of tweets, alleged harassment by Srinivas Bhave and inaction by the party high command.
Priyanka Gandhi talks about ladki ho lad sakti ho, and I, being the only single female state president in the entire country, I'm sure if she had heard, she would have reacted. I'm sure she did not know about it. That is why after 6 months of waiting, I put it on Twitter, I tagged them. Because it is not about Srinivas or me or my position or the party. As a woman, I have come out. How am I going to bring more women? If something like that happens to an educated woman who has a thinking mind of her own, what about the other girls?
BJP has hit out at the Congress party, questioning the silence of the Congress High Command over the allegations of Ankita Datta.
As per media reports, allegations of harassment and discrimination have been made by a senior woman Congress leader against her own party colleague and somebody who heads the Youth Congress nationally. Instead of allowing for a free and fair probe and inquiry into these allegations to determine what is the truth and to take action against the perpetrator of such kind of harassment and discrimination, we see that the victim is being further victimized with legal threats and by a calumny and campaign of slander which is being run across the social media. Ironically, this is a party which says ladki hu lad sakti hu, but Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and Rahul Gandhi are eloquently silent. And this is not the first time. Many such instances where Congress leaders have been accused of harassing, exploiting, abusing their own female party workers. Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Vadra have been found wanting. They have not stood with these victims. Whether it is the case from the IT cell of Congress party, whether it is the case from Karnataka Congress, whether it is the case of a particular secretary who had harassed women and was subsequently promoted instead of being acted upon. This shows that it is only an empty slogan and rhetoric and only a part of vulture politics. In Rajasthan, women's atrocities is at its peak. When these women's atrocities take place, Rajasthan ministers have come out and justified them by making most crass and most sexist comments, but no action was taken. This is the true face of Priyanka Vadra and Rahul Gandhi and their commitment towards women atrocities and women empowerment.
And in other top stories, H.D. Kumarasamy of the JDS has said he will be filing his nomination as a candidate from Channapatna segment today for the assembly polls in Karnataka to be held on the 10th of May. Congress leader Jagdish Shettar, who quit the party after being denied a ticket, said he will file his nominations today as well. Shettar joined the Congress in the presence of party chief Mallikarjun Kharge, Karnataka party chief D.K. Shivkumar and other senior leaders just a few days ago. After the Supreme Court on Tuesday began hearing arguments on a batch of pleas seeking legal validation of same-sex marriages, an issue that has wide societal ramification and has sharply divided opinion, the bench will reassemble today and continue hearing on the petitions. On the occasion of Civil Services Day, Prime Minister Modi will address civil servants at New Delhi's Vigyan Bhavan on April 21st. According to Prime Minister's office statement, Prime Minister Modi has constantly appreciated the contribution of civil servants towards nation building and enthused them to work even harder. The program will serve as an apt platform for the Prime Minister to motivate and inspire civil servants across the country so that they may keep serving the nation with the same zeal. Apple CEO Tim Cook is set to meet Prime Minister Modi and Minister for IT Rajiv Chandrasekhar today. He is on an India visit for the inauguration of India's first Apple retail store, which was first opened in Mumbai yesterday. The second Apple store will open on the 20th of April in New Delhi. Home Minister Amit Shah will inaugurate the first national conference of heads of states and union territories of the anti-narcotics task forces in the national capital today. The event assumes significance amid the centre's focus on cracking down on the sale of narcotics and ramping up cases registered under Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act. Even as Maharashtra political circles are abuzz with the next move of NCP leader Ajit Pawar, all eyes will also be on a special court, where the case filed by the Enforcement Directorate against a company allegedly linked to Pawar and his wife will come up for a regular hearing on Wednesday. The central agency on April 5th submitted a charge sheet in the Maharashtra State Cooperative Bank case. ED has attached 4 properties belonging to Karti Chidambaram and others valued at 11.04 crore rupees in the case of INX Media Private Limited and others under the provision of Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Veteran TMC leader Mukul Roy, who kept the political pundits guessing over his next move on Tuesday night, said he is still a BJP legislator and would like to meet Union Home Minister Amit Shah as he is keen on returning to the saffron camp. India and Russia on Tuesday agreed to work jointly to unlock the full potential of their economic ties by addressing the trade deficit and market access issues. These issues were discussed at a meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation that was co-chaired by S. Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister, and Russia's Deputy Prime Minister. And MHA officials arrived to hold a high-level internal security review meeting in Jammu and Kashmir today. Special Secretary Ministry of Home Affairs Sundari Nanda was also among them. She was accompanied by top BSF officials. A security review meeting is set to take place on internal security arrangements in view of the much-hyped G20 tourism meet that is scheduled to be held in Jammu and Kashmir. Special DG BSF Western Command PV Rama Shastri along with top brass of J&K police will also take part. This comes amid the emerging threat from across the border. Here's more in this report from my colleague Gursimran.
जम्मू कश्मीर में आंतरिक सुरक्षा को लेकर एक बड़ी बैठक होने वाली है, जिसको लेकर मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स से स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी जो हैं वो यहां पर पहुंची हैं। आप देखेंगे आईजी बीएसएफ उनके साथ मौजूद हैं। स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी जो है सुंदरी नंदा एमएचए की वो यहां पे पहुंची और गाड़ियों का काफिला आप देख सकते हैं। तमाम जो वरिष्ठ अधिकारी हैं वो इस वक्त यहां पर पहुंच रहे हैं। चाहे बात डीजी बीएसएफ की आईजी बीएसएफ की जाए, स्पेशल डीजी बीएसएफ की जाए या फिर तमाम आला अधिकारी यहां पर पहुंच रहे हैं। स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी होम सुंदरी नंदा जो है वो इस वक्त जम्मू एयरपोर्ट पहुंच चुकी हैं। यहां से वो सांबा अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा पर जाएंगी, जहां पर एक उच्च स्तरीय बैठक जो है वो होने वाली है। आगामी G20 जो शिखर वार्ता है उसको लेकर बेहद महत्वपूर्ण है जम्मू कश्मीर के आंतरिक हालात, जहां पे लगातार ये प्रयास किया जा रहा है कि जम्मू कश्मीर में माहौल को खराब किया जाए। उस बीच एक महत्वपूर्ण बैठक जिसमें कि केंद्रीय गृह मंत्रालय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स की स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी सुंदरी नंदा अब जम्मू में पहुंची है और यहाँ पर एक उच्च स्तरीय बैठक जो है उसकी अध्यक्षता करेंगी, जिसमें पाकिस्तान की तरफ से लगातार की जा रही कोशिशें जम्मू कश्मीर में हालात को खराब करने की और काउंटर मेयर्स जो लिए जा रहे हैं, चाहे वो जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस की तरफ से हो या फिर बीएसएफ की तरफ से, आंतरिक हालात पर चर्चा होगी। और इसमें बेहद महत्वपूर्ण बात ये भी निकल कर सामने आ रही है कि G20 को लेकर आगामी खतरों को लेकर क्या रणनीति बनाई गई है, उस रणनीति पर भी चर्चा जो है वो होगी।
And here's another report now that's from the world of football. In a major blow to Al Nassr, that's a football club from the Middle East that Cristiano Ronaldo has just joined, Al Hilal defeated the team with 2-0 in a contentious Riyadh derby with 2 penalties from Odion Igalo. A detailed report. Take a look.
In a massive setback for Al Nassr, the team suffered a potentially crucial blow to their Saudi Pro League title. The team were beaten 2-0 at Al Hilal. The team, who were also last year's champions, showed few signs of being distracted by their upcoming AFC Champions League final. The team tried to raise the tempo in the second half. However, they failed to exert consistent pressure on the Al Hilal backline. Ronaldo was booked for an ugly challenge on Gustavo Quella around the hour mark. This soon after his side found themselves 2 down. The player's frustration got the better of him. With 14 minutes left, Ronaldo, however, showed some of his old magic in finding the net. But his spectacular effort was ruled out for offside. Agency report for Republic TV.
Some international news now. A parking garage collapsed in Lower Manhattan's financial district, killing 1 worker, injuring 5 and crushing cars as concrete floors fell on top of each other like a stack of pancakes. People described a fearsome rumbling followed by screams. Democrats' efforts to temporarily replace California Senator Dianne Feinstein on the Senate Judiciary Committee met quick opposition from Republicans, complicating the plan as some of President Joe Biden's judicial nominees remain on hold during her extended medical absence. US President Joe Biden signs executive order that contains more than 50 directives to increase access to child care and improve the work life of caregivers. Smoke could be seen rising from buildings across Khartoum in Sudan as gunfire and explosions echo through the streets of the capital of Sudan. More than 180 people have been killed, over 1,800 wounded since the fighting erupted. A US convoy was also fired at. And still on Sudan, Khartoum's hospitals were thrown into chaos by the explosion of violence between Sudan's two top generals. At the Ahmed Qasim Children's Hospital, medical staff evacuated all cases except the ones in the ICU. Wall Street Journal journalist was presented before a Moscow court on charges of espionage in Russia. This is the first time that a US journalist was detained in Russia for espionage. The journalist faces up to 20 years in prison for trying to obtain classified information on a Russian arms company. A Russian judge has ruled that American journalist Evan Gershkovich must remain behind bars on espionage charges. Gershkovich and the US government vehemently deny the allegations. The Wall Street Journal reporter is the first US correspondent since the Cold War to be detained in Russia on spying allegations, and his arrest rattled journalists in the country and elicited outrage in the West. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky made a trip to positions near the front line on Tuesday to stiffen the resolve of soldiers battling Vladimir Putin's troops. Zelensky visited units in Avdiivka, a city in Donetsk province where fierce battles are taking place, his office said. During the visit, he heard first-hand reports about the battlefield situation and handed out awards. The Ukrainian president also said he had a phone call with US Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy and invited him to visit Ukraine. During the conversation, he said he thanked McCarthy for the US unflinching support of Ukraine in its fight against the Russian invasion. It's time now for a short break, but coming up on the other side, Elections 2023, the battle for Karnataka is on in full swing as party bigwigs all set to file their nominations.
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently, climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. Chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions to the challenges faced by the Global South. I'll challenge popular opinion at India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit, which is by far India's most high-profile event. I'll see you there.
dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases of corruption and disproportionate assets. This will ensure that at a local level, no officer can go about saying, hey, I've come to inspect you, without the system approving it.
You come from the northeast, but then the concept of integrated India, Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat Ka, this concept is very relevant to every state and specifically the northeast. So I think it's the balance and between that, and I think the leadership along with the flexibility in the constitutional framework that we have is really what will allow this beautiful nation of ours, which has this complexity, yet, as you said, the nation first approach is really what is a way to move forward in. And so I think there is always a way forward, respecting the different communities, respecting the difference that we have, and yet keeping the nation first is really the way forward that we need.
5G सर्विस जो कि एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी सर्विस के तौर पर माना जा रहा है। भारत सबसे अधिक तीव्र गति से डिजिटलीकरण करने वाली इकोनॉमी है।
That at every point, any agency, whether it's the ED, the CBI, the ACB, questions need to be raised on them?
I personally think that in a democratic country, Parliament must have full control of the agencies as well. Why do we make them into what is called a holy cow, that nobody can touch them? They must be made answerable. You may not interfere in a specific investigation, but at the end of the day, they must be made accountable to Parliament.
As a young man from Ladakh, how do you see the abrogation of 370 and now being united through that step?
केवल 370 ही नहीं हटा, एक सक्षम राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए, एक देश को मजबूत करने का जो निर्णय पहले लेना चाहिए था, जो अटके हुए थे 70 सालों से, वो हुआ है। और ये केवल एक ही सरकार का एक ही अचीवमेंट में नहीं गिना जाएगा। आने वाले पीढ़ी जन्म जन्म तक इसको याद रखेंगे।
Dear viewers, in a few days we are bringing to you once again the Republic Summit. And this year our theme is fittingly about how this is a time of transformation. Yes, this is a time of transformation for an India that is growing 4 times faster than the world average. It is a time of transformation for an India whose...
Good morning and welcome. Now, the 3rd edition of the Republic Summit will be held in the national capital this month. The biggest names, the biggest newsmakers, the biggest agents of change and transformation in India will be at the summit once again. So stand by for what will be by far India's biggest news event by miles. Now, India's transformation is for us to celebrate together, to take pride in it together. What does this time of transformation mean to you? Tell us what this transformation means to you. Send us your video on it via WhatsApp on 730-4434-381. The most compelling responses will get in-house seats to the Republic Summit. Join us in celebrating this time of transformation. You are watching Live and Breaking. Here are the headlines. Mafia Don Atiq Ahmed's assailants are to be produced in court today. The Uttar Pradesh SIT seeks remand. Landmark hearing to recognize same-sex marriages continues in the Supreme Court. Karnataka heats up. Mega roadshows are lined up as big wigs are set to file their nominations. As India's economy leaps, Apple CEO Tim Cook will be meeting the Prime Minister.
Instead of allowing for a free and fair probe and inquiry into these allegations to determine what is the truth and to take action against the perpetrator of such kind of harassment and discrimination.
Assam Congress Youth President alleges harassment by Srinivas and inaction by top brass. The BJP hits back. Unrest continues in Sudan. The death toll has risen to 270. Over 2,000 people are critically injured. Well, the three main accused who killed the gangster-turned-politician Atiq Ahmed and his brother Khalid Azim, also known as Ashraf, of course, will be in a court in Prayagraj shortly. Now, this comes after the court had sent the three of these people to judicial custody. They were sent to 14 days of judicial custody earlier. Now, the accused, Lavlesh Tiwari, Arun Maurya and Sunny Purane, had opened fire on the former MP Atiq Ahmed and his brother at the entrance of a hospital in Prayagraj, where they were brought for medical examination on the 15th of April. The incident took place in front of TV cameras, and the accused came posing as journalists with mic ID and cameras in their hands. Let's go across to Piyush Ori, who's reporting on this case from outside the court in Prayagraj. Now, Piyush, we're given to understand that the police SIT team that is inquiring into this is very keen to have them in police custody to be able to ascertain the motive of this crime. So tell us more, please.
So what I can tell you, Rukma, is that the scenes over here outside the Prayagraj District Court is very chaotic. As you can see from the visuals that have been presented to you by video journalist Anup Sangiji. Now, what I can tell you is that the arguments is going inside the court, whereas the special investigative team of the Uttar Pradesh police is asking for taking the custody of the three accused, which you rightly named, Lavlesh Tiwari, Arun Maurya and Mohit Singh, into the custody. Now, the main reason for which the special investigative team is asking for their custody is very simple. Even though the dramatic visuals of Atiq Ahmed and Ashraf Ahmed being shot dead has been recorded in the full public view, there are still a lot of loopholes that are to be recorded as far as the testimony of these three accused is concerned. To begin with, there are a lot of questions of what actually was the motive of these three accused to have committed this ghastly act. Most importantly is that how actually were they able to get such expensive weapons. Now, because they realize that there is a lot more that needs to be investigated, there is a lot more theory that needs to be given to the public of what exactly was the reason of this murder being committed. The special investigative team right now is arguing its case inside the Prayagraj District Court in front of the CJM to get the custody of the three accused. Now, what we are being told is that the special investigative team has asked for a 14-day custody. When it get it, we do not know, because the arguments are going inside the court, but we will come to know that in the coming few minutes. But what I can tell you is that the scenes outside the Prayagraj District Court is very chaotic because of what happened at the Colvin Hospital on Saturday night, where Atiq and his brother Ashraf were murdered brutally in the public view with being shot dead on the point-blank range. You can see that there is a heavy deployment of Uttar Pradesh police at the district court, which actually is full of a lot of traffic, and the scenes over here are quite chaotic. You can again see the visuals that have been presented to you by my video journalist Veer Sangiji, that there is a lot of traffic, there is a lot of chaos, which you can see over here outside the Prayagraj District Court, because inside also there is a very heated argument, there is a very significant argument going between the special investigative team of Uttar Pradesh police, wherein they are asking for getting the custody of the three accused who had committed a dramatic murder of Atiq Ahmed and Ashraf Ahmed. Back to the studio.
All right, Piyush Ori bringing us the latest from Prayagraj. Thank you for joining us. For the moment, we can, of course, see an increased security cordon where the accused have been brought to court as well. Thank you, Piyush. And we're cutting across to pictures that we are getting right now from Madhya Pradesh's Shahdol. We are now being told that two goods trains collided one with each other near the Singhpur railway station. Now, the engines of the trains caught fire after the collision. The drivers have been injured and two railway workers are feared trapped. Rescue operations are underway, and trains on the Bilaspur-Katni route have been affected by this collision between two goods trains. You can see visuals on your screen of how dreadful this collision appears to be. We are given to understand that the drivers have been wounded in this accident, and two railway workers are still believed to be trapped inside the blaze. Let me go across to Satya Vijay, who's reporting from Bhopal on this. Satya Vijay, tell us more, please.
जी हाँ, देखिए मध्य प्रदेश के शहडोल में बड़ा हादसा हुआ है। शहडोल के सिंहपुर रेलवे स्टेशन पर दो मालगाड़ियां आपस में टकराई हैं, आपस में उनमें कोलैप्स हुआ है, जिसकी वजह से जो मालगाड़ी के इंजन है उनमें भी आग लगी है। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह कि इसमें मालगाड़ी के जो ड्राइवर है वो तो इंजर्ड हैं ही हैं, दो और रेलकर्मी जो हैं वो इस हादसे में फंसे होने की आशंका है, जिसके चलते कि फिलहाल वहां पर रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन किया जा रहा है। और चूंकि दोनों जो मालगाड़ियां हैं वो आपस में कोलैप्स हुई हैं, जिसकी वजह से बिलासपुर कटनी रूट का जो ट्रेन का जो रूट है वो प्रभावित हुआ है। कई ट्रेनें डिले चल रही हैं और बड़ा घटनाक्रम हुआ है ये। इसमें हालांकि कोई अभी तक का जो इनपुट है उसके मुताबिक कोई जनहानि नहीं हुई है, लेकिन रेलवे के जो एम्प्लॉय हैं वो इंजर्ड हैं और कुछ के फंसे होने की आशंका है, जिनको कि रेस्क्यू कर निकालने की कोशिश की जा रही है। हादसा किस वजह से हुआ, क्यों हुआ, किसकी गलती थी, कैसे आपस में ट्रेन जो मालगाड़ियां हैं वो टकराई, किसने सिग्नल पास किया, ये सब चीजें जो है वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन कैसे हुए, इस पर रेलवे अभी अधिकृत बयान जारी कर सकता है, करेगा, या फिर जांच के आदेश दिए जाएंगे। लेकिन मध्य प्रदेश के शहडोल में ये एक बड़ा घटनाक्रम हुआ है। सिंहपुर रेलवे स्टेशन के पास का ये हादसा है, जहां पर कि दो मालगाड़ियां आपस में टकराई हैं। जो तस्वीरें हम दिखा रहे हैं उसमें देख सकते हैं कि मालगाड़ी के जो इंजन है उनमें भी आग की लपटें तेजी से निकलती दिख रही हैं।
All right, Satya Vijay bringing us those details from Bhopal. Thank you for joining us. As Satya Vijay is pointing out, the collision occurred and seems to be a high impact one. And here's a look at top sporting action from across the country this morning. Today in the Rajasthan Royals will take on the Lucknow Super Giants. Both teams are at the summit of the IPL 2023 points table, and it will be an interesting match between the two. The Mumbai Indians skipper Rohit Sharma lauded Arjun Tendulkar's performance in his team's victory over the Sunrisers Hyderabad, saying that the medium pacer has clarity of thought when it comes to his bowling. Tendulkar, playing his second IPL game, delivered under pressure as he defended 20 runs off the final over to secure a 14-run victory for MI against the Sunrisers. Veteran opener David Warner has been retained in Australia's court for the start of the Ashes series in England and is still in the mix for the World Test Championship final against India. Speculation over the 36-year-old left-hander's future in cricket's longest-running format mounted when he was injured on Australia's recent tour to India. An inexperienced New Zealand survived Iftikhar Ahmed's late onslaught to snatch a stunning 4-run victory against Pakistan and keep alive their 5-match T20 series. New Zealand medium pacer James Neesham kept his nerve in the final over, and Pakistan were dismissed for 159. The Indian men's hockey team captain Harmanpreet Singh said the upcoming Asia Championships trophy in Chennai will be a litmus test for the side ahead of the Asian Games to be held in the September-October later this year. Jamshedpur FC have finished their Super Cup group stage campaign with a perfect record, beating hosts Gokulam Kerala 3-2 in the final game against the EMS Corporation Stadium. Now, they were the only team to have registered 3 straight wins in the competition's group stage in this edition. FC Goa have extended their Super Cup campaign with a win at Fairs. Arnott's late goal has given them a victory over the ISL champions. What used to be a cordial relationship between the Spanish powerhouses turned ugly following the latest scandal involving Barcelona over payments to a former refereeing official. Rodrigo scored twice as Real Madrid beat Chelsea 2-0 to advance to the Champions League semi-finals for the 11th time in 13 seasons. The defending champions completed a 4-0 aggregate win in the quarter-finals at the Stamford Bridge. And Argentina has replaced Indonesia as the host of the Under-20 World Cup next month. FIFA announced the decision just over 2 weeks after Indonesia was stripped of the hosting rights. While in the high-octane political battle in Karnataka, JP Nadda meets the top seer of the Lingayat community.
Dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases of corruption and disproportionate assets. This will ensure that at a local level, no officer can go about saying, hey, I've come to inspect you without the system approving it.
5G सर्विस जो कि एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी सर्विस के तौर पर माना जा रहा है। भारत सबसे अधिक तीव्र गति से डिजिटलीकरण करने वाली इकोनॉमी है।
As a young man from Ladakh, how do you see the abrogation of 370 and now being united through that step?
केवल 370 ही नहीं हटा, एक सक्षम राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए एक देश को मजबूत करने का जो निर्णय पहले लेना चाहिए था, जो अटके हुए थे 70 सालों से, वो हुआ है। और ये केवल एक ही सरकार का एक ही अचीवमेंट में नहीं गिना जाएगा। आने वाले पीढ़ी जन्म जन्म तक इसको याद रखेंगे।
Do you think there is a certain motivated opposition that is trying to wield control over the top court?
Anyone who chooses to misbehave with the Supreme Court and causes misdemeanor should be taken to task by the court itself. I think we just need some judges who just needs to get angry with this kind of behavior and take a call on it and take contempt notice on such people. Things will improve automatically.
The throne of the leadership I convey to Prime Minister Modi of India.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी G20 इवेंट के दौरान नेताओं के साथ द्विपक्षीय बैठक करेंगे।
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions to the challenges faced by the global south. I'll challenge popular opinion at India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit, which is by far India's most high-profile event. I'll see you there.
Now, the battle for Karnataka is heating up, and today 4 big wigs will be filing their nominations. The Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai will file his nomination from Shigaon in the Haveri district in the presence of the BJP National President JP Nadda and Kicha Sudeep. B.Y. Vijayendra will also be filing his nomination from the Shikhapura constituency and will be accompanied by B.S. Yediyurappa. Jagdish Shettar, who is now with the Congress party, is also set to file his nomination from the Hubballi-Dharwad central constituency in the presence of local Congress leader Siddaramaiah. Also heads to file his nomination from the Varuna Assembly constituency, along with the Congress leaders from Old Mysuru region, and massive road shows will be held in all 4 districts. Prajwal, in fact, is reporting from Shigaon, where the Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai will soon be filing his nomination. Give us an overview of the political action that we are expecting today. Now, of course, you are in Shigaon, and that's going to be one of the star constituencies. All right, I'm afraid there seems to be an audio dip over there with Prajwal. We can't quite hear him. Prajwal, if you can just quickly take a look at your audio, and we'll come back to you in a minute. But as Prajwal is pointing out, of course, we are expecting to see a high-octane show today. JP Nadda is on a 2-day visit to Karnataka, and we're also learning that other top leaders from the Congress will also be in Karnataka. I think I'm going to try once again to go across to Prajwal. Prajwal, you were taking us through the developments we are expecting.
Yes, Nupur, 4 big road shows today, 4 big nominations as well. Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai, Jagdish Shettar, B.Y. Vijayendra, and apart from which we're also seeing Jagdish Shettar going ahead and filing his nomination. Siddaramaiah from the Varuna Assembly constituency. Right now from where I am reporting, this is the Shigaon Assembly constituency, and to just give you the sort of preparations that we are witnessing on our screens. Over here, we can clearly see that hundreds of, the BJP cadres, that is the female cadres, have already gathered to go on and welcome Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai, along with Kicha Sudeep, the film star, who will also be campaigning for them as well, and he will also be garlanding the statue of Kittur Rani Chennamma, and this is the Chennamma circle here, and you can see this that he will be going there and he will be garlanding the statue of Kittur Rani Chennamma at the Chennamma circle, where this particular road show will begin. This road show is only for 1 kilometer, but thousands and thousands of people are expected here too, and apart from which BJP National President JP Nadda coming here, and him going ahead and visiting the mutts today is something which is very important as well. And the highlight of this particular rally will also be this huge garland for this particular huge garland for Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai as well, which has been organized by the party cadres at Shigaon in Hubballi too. And to just notice that it is over, we are expecting that the rally should begin in the next half an hour. But now already hundreds, thousands of people have already gathered on the streets of Shigaon in Haveri district as well, where Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai will be filing his nominations. And people are lining up across the entire streets and the entire constituency of Shigaon too. And this clearly goes ahead and shows the sort of support that Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai enjoys in his constituency. But also about the other big nominations that we have been speaking about. Largely Varuna Assembly constituency is something which everybody will be looking for, where around 15,000 to 20,000 supporters of Siddaramaiah will be marching with him to the Tehsildar's office, where he will be filing his nomination. And today the all-important nomination of Yes,
absolutely. No, Prajwal, what I wanted to ask you was, even as we see this fanfare around, process of filing nomination papers, something very important happened yesterday when, the Lingayat Seer, who has a large following, actually said that, they should largely be voting for the BJP. Now, this would come perhaps as a shot in the arm for the BJP, which through its latest round of, change in reservation quotas was hoping to be able to woo the Lingayats.
Nupur, if you could come again, because it's too noisy out here, it's not audible. So if you could come over again.
I was asking you, Prajwal, about the Lingayat support for the BJP that seemed to have come through yesterday. One of the top seers of the Lingayats yesterday did say that he will ask his supporters to support the BJP. So this is something essentially that should come in as a shot in the arm for the BJP, because, with the reservations, that is what they were trying to do with the reworked reservations. They were trying to woo the Lingayats.
Absolutely, Nupur, because now we saw that the pontiff of the Moor Savira Math went ahead and stated his full support for the BJP candidates in Hubli, Dharwad districts as well, and also in Haveri district too. And he stated that the Math and its followers will always support the BJP, and they will clearly go ahead and stand firmly with the Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai and the BJP party. Earlier this morning, we also saw incidentally that the BJP National President JP Nadda was on a Math hopping spree, and he also sought the blessings of the pontiff of the Moor Savira Math, and he is also gone to the Siddharuda Math as well to get the blessings of the pontiff. So this largely shows that the BJP is somewhere trying to project the narrative in such a way that they are with the Lingayats and they're not rejecting the Lingayats, and they will stand strongly and firmly behind them.
High-octane nominations to take place today, both from the Congress and the BJP. We'll bring our viewers all of that and more. Do stay with us.
इस देश में बहुत समय के बाद एक ऐसी सरकार आई है जो सरकार टिकाने के लिए नहीं चल रही, देश को सुधारने के लिए सरकार चल रही है।
ये पहला एक बड़ा इवेंट हुआ है जहां पे आप इस पर विस्तृत तौर से इन डिटेल आप बात करेंगे, तो लेट अस एड्रेस ऑल इश्यूज।
The throne of the leadership I convey to Prime Minister Modi of India.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी G20 इवेंट के दौरान नेताओं के साथ द्विपक्षीय बैठक करेंगे।
How tough is it for a sportsman or an athlete to get out of this phase and emerge victorious eventually?
The contest between the ball and a bat, I think whether it's the World Cup final or it's any other game, I know it's difficult. It's difficult to accept that it's another game of cricket, but that is how a sportsman needs to think, and that is how I prepared myself. Because ultimately, whether it's the World Cup final or it's the first game of the World Cup, the contest is not the World Cup final. The contest is between the bowler and a batsman. So ultimately, I have to beat the next ball which I end up playing, and I've got to do the best of my whatever I could of the next particular delivery. So that is how I approach both the World Cup finals. Rather than thinking about the platform, rather than thinking about the occasion, it is about just watching the ball and reacting to it.
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently, climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. Chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions to the challenges faced by the Global South. I'll challenge popular opinion at India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit, which is by far India's most high-profile event. I'll see you there.
Dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases.
As Karnataka elections is at a high pitch, well, now we see that tomorrow being the last day to file the nominations, today all the top leaders of Karnataka are going to file nominations, and as we continue to report from Varuna, which is one of the very important constituencies where the opposition leader Siddaramaiah will be filing his nomination in some time from now, and also will be holding a mega road show here in Varuna, a show of strength by the BJP and the Congress. Well, it all remains to be seen on the 13th of May who will be forming the government here in the state of Karnataka. We'll be right back after a short break. Keep watching Republic TV.
इस देश में बहुत समय के बाद एक ऐसी सरकार आई है जो सरकार टिकाने के लिए नहीं चल रही, देश को सुधारने के लिए सरकार चल रही है।
ये पहला एक बड़ा इवेंट हुआ है जहां पे आप इस पर विस्तृत तौर से इन डिटेल आप बात करेंगे, तो लेट अस एड्रेस ऑल इश्यूज।
How tough is it for a sportsman or an athlete to get out of this phase and emerge victorious eventually?
The contest between the ball and a bat, I think whether it's the World Cup final or it's any other game, I know it's difficult. It's difficult to accept that it's another game of cricket, but that is how a sportsman needs to think, and that is how I prepared myself. Because ultimately, whether it's the World Cup final or it's the first game of the World Cup, the contest is not the World Cup final. The contest is between the bowler and a batsman. So ultimately, I have to beat the next ball which I end up playing, and I've got to do the best of my whatever I could of the next particular delivery. So that is how I approach both the World Cup finals. Rather than thinking about the platform, rather than thinking about the occasion, it is about just watching the ball and reacting to it.
Dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases of corruption and disproportionate assets. This will ensure that at a local level, no officer can go about saying, hey, I've come to inspect you, without the system approving it.
फाइव सर्विस जो कि एक बहुत ही क्रांतिकारी सर्विस के तौर पर माना जा रहा है। भारत सबसे अधिक तीव्र गति से डिजिटलीकरण करने वाली इकोनॉमी है।
As a young man from Ladakh, how do you see the abrogation of 370 and now being united through that step?
केवल 370 ही नहीं हटा, एक सक्षम राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए, एक देश को मजबूत करने का जो निर्णय पहले लेना चाहिए था, जो अटके हुए थे 70 सालों से, वो हुआ है। और ये केवल एक ही सरकार का एक ही अचीवमेंट में नहीं गिना जाएगा। आने वाले पीढ़ी जन्म जन्म तक इसको याद रखेंगे।
has begun. India's biggest news event is now back. The third edition of the Republic Summit will be held in the national capital this month. The biggest names, the biggest newsmakers, the biggest agents of change and transformation in India will be at the Republic Summit once again this year. So stand by for what will be by far India's biggest news event by miles. India's transformation is for us to celebrate together, to take pride in it together. So what does this time of transformation mean to you? Tell us what this transformation means to you, and even send us videos on the WhatsApp number that is flashing on your screens, which is 730-44-34381, and the most compelling responses will get in-house seats to India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit. So join us in celebrating this time of transformation. Let's get started, beginning first with the top headlines at 11 a.m. Mafia Don Atiq Ahmed's assailants to be produced in court today. Uttar Pradesh SIT seeks remand. Landmark hearing to recognize same-sex marriage continues in the top court. Battle for Karnataka heats up. Mega roadshows lined up as bigwigs are set to file nomination today. As India's economy leaps, Apple CEO Tim Cook to meet Prime Minister Modi today.
Instead of allowing for a free and fair probe and inquiry into these allegations to determine what is the truth and to take action against the perpetrator of such kind of harassment and discrimination,
Assam Youth Congress President alleges harassment by B.V. Srinivas and inaction by top brass. BJP hits out. Unrest continues in Sudan. Death toll now rises to 270. More than 2,000 people suffer critical injuries. And we start with a news break that's just coming in. This is in relation to the same-sex marriage debate in the top court. We now understand a fresh affidavit has been filed by the centre before the Supreme Court. In this case, let's go across to our Executive Editor for Legal Affairs, Rhythm, also joining us. Rhythm, take us through this new affidavit that's been filed by the centre in the top court.
So let's tell you two breaking news that's coming in Samiksha. One, the hearing on day 2 of the same-sex marriage case has begun before a constitutional bench of the top court. Second, the central government, after filing 2 earlier affidavits, has today filed another fresh affidavit before the constitution bench, saying exactly what the Tushar Mehta, top law officer of the country, Solicitor General, said yesterday. They want state governments to be made a party in account since marriage is in the concurrent list. They've also said that states need to submit their views on same-sex marriage in case notice is not issued to them. Therefore, the union says states should submit their views in 10 days. Once this was stated in the Supreme Court, the court has said, all right, it's excellent, states already know about it. So they have stated this. However, inside the courtroom, there is a lot of already in the morning, lots of action that started happening. We've got all the advocates making their first word placed before the Chief Justice of India and the Constitution bench. The Solicitor General, first I'll come across to the breaking news that we're actually beginning with. In a 5-page affidavit, the central government says that states need to be heard. They're also saying that the issue goes to the very root of the matter and therefore state needs to be heard. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details of what the central government is saying because that affidavit is broken. Let me also take our viewers towards what's happening in the courtroom. Already Mukul Rohatgi, appearing for the petitioner, says, I'm challenging the central law and saying that states need to be heard. Just because the subject is in the concurrent list does not mean states have to join. So preliminary arguments in the Supreme Court where already the petitioners are questioning the fact that states will also file their arguments before the court, and the Chief Justice says, let's not go into this, let's go back to your submissions. So possibly in a minute or two, Mukul Rohatgi, who wanted to finish his submissions from yesterday, will begin the submissions in the same-sex marriage case, after which we shall see what happens today during the hearing.
Rhythm, stay with us. Just a follow-up question. While we understand that the centre has said that all states should be heard in the case, we understand some of the states are already a party in this affidavit that's been filed in the top court. If you can take us through the finer details of that as well.
Well, states are not a party in this case yet because they've not been issued a notice yet.
Okay.
So what we're trying to say is today what's going to happen is that after this affidavit that's been filed where the central government is now asking for states and union territories across the country to be made a party to the ongoing proceedings, the court is going to consider this request of the central government.
All right, Rhythm, thank you for those details. So that's, of course, the latest coming in. Another affidavit that's been filed by the centre in the top court. This has been filed in relation to the same-sex marriage case. The centre has asked the top court to make all states and union territories across the country party to the ongoing proceedings, saying that the present issue falls within the legislative domain of the states. Let's cut straight across to the live streaming of the proceedings in the top court.
And give me something real. I have made a list of 4 or 5 items, Milord, as an example. Take, Milord, Payment of Gratuity Act. Other acts will provide pension. They provide, Milord, only to a spouse where the underlying thing that you are married. I am going to give you, Milord, some of them. One of them, Milord, is the... hold on. I'll give you, Milord. One of them is judge's pension. A judge's pension will go to a spouse. Now, a spouse presupposes that you have to be married. So if one of us, Milord, becomes a judge and then he gets a pension, tomorrow an issue will arise whether you are going, who will get the pension? Milord, for example, under the Income Tax Act, a gift is exempt from tax, Milord, as between members of a spouse which predetermines a marriage. Now, if you're going to do that, how will that work, Milord? So there is a large number of acts. So the secular acts, where, Milord, this issue doesn't arise of, Milord, personal laws. So the effect or declaration of marriage must flow to get us real rights where, Milord, these day-to-day things, at least in secular parts, are, Milord, involved. Motor Vehicles Act, Gratuity Act, Pension Act, Milord, Juvenile Justice Act provides for, Milord, adoption. Says you can't adopt. As a living, you can't adopt unless you are married. So all those, Milord, those at least, it must flow. Otherwise, what will happen? I'm sorry to use the phrase, I get a declaration. I get a badge. 5 years ago, I got that there will be no criminalization. After 5 years, I get this badge. Then, Milord, when I go somewhere, again those problems arise. They say, no, Supreme Court hasn't given you anything. Given you a badge of being married, fine. In society, you can go around and say, I am a couple who's married. But what is the real impact on the ground? Therefore, Milord, I have framed 1 or 2 reliefs, which I'll indicate. I'm only saying, Milord, idea should not be to go on revisiting the same issue from Puttu Swami and Navtej, back and forth. And we should only, at the end, if your lordships give me some, Milord, declarations, as and when in some other issues, something has to be fleshed out, it will come back to court. Nobody can, Milord, think of impossible.
Beginning of litigations,
yes,
incrementally as you call it.
Yes.
So rather than going at it whole hog.
Yes.
Whole hog you feel is a problem.
Yes.
Why is it a problem?
No. I am not saying it's a problem.
You don't want, because you don't want to open up the other fronts right now. You feel, what is the reason? You feel it's a distraction? He says no.
No, but I'm only saying, only personal laws. I'm only saying.
There is an organic hole in this.
Yes.
That's one point is.
Yes.
Get a declaration, then you say that in some of these, what you term as secular. Or
I term them as secular, non-personal.
So far, so good.
Yes.
But when it comes to personal law, this will also implicate personal law, isn't it? Because some of your
some of them will argue, Milord.
Yes.
Mehta wants to argue.
Therefore,
you don't want to. All right.
You may not argue. You have strategic reasons why you will not argue. But this court will have to engage itself once more, twice more, maybe 3 times or 4 times more.
Yes, absolutely right.
Which one of these? Should not have. The question is then we are not looking at it as a whole. You have to look at it. We are looking at it in a truncated manner, which means that we, per force, for the sake of, let's say, convenience or clarity, we say that we confine this declaration or whatever relief you are seeking to the Special Marriage Act, right? Which means that others who do not wish to or are not aware of this form of marriage, and I use these words very carefully, who are not aware of this form of marriage, of this going through the civil form of marriage, we can't presuppose, we can't assume that everyone knows this. They are denied this, right? Either they choose their religion or whatever. If they choose to, then they are out of this. So that is one aspect. Second aspect is they intersect with personal law even here. So keep that in mind when you make this.
Yes, I'll get to later. Yes, I appreciate for your Lordship's comment. So now 469. Citizens of a democracy cannot be compelled to have their lives pushed into obscurity by an oppressive colonial legislation in order to ensure the sexual and gender minorities' fulfillment of their fundamental right. It is imperative to confront the closet and, as a necessary consequence, confront compulsory heterosexuality. Confronting the closet will entail reclaiming markers of all desires, identities, and acts to be challenged. It also entail ensuring that individuals belonging to sexual minorities have the freedom to fully participate in public life, breaking the invisible barrier that heterosexuality imposes upon them. The choice of sexuality is at the core of privacy, but equally our constitutional jurisprudence must recognize that public assertion of identity found in sexual orientation is crucial to the exercise of freedom. But I submit 469 will fully apply. And instead of the words colonial legislation, we can use, beloved, the words colonial mindset. It is that mindset, beloved, which started from then. Society has evolved. Your Lordships, beloved, struck down the barrier 5 years ago. But some parts of that mindset remain, which is evident from the stand of the respondents, including that of the states. And this mindset is, beloved, is implicit in the ground or at the ground level whenever we go to public spaces and in the so-called, beloved, the secular laws which I'm mentioning, which also will have to be read in accord with the declaration if a Lordship so grant the declaration. In other words, I will propose at the end, but I will just preface. Beloved, wherever husband and wife is used, make it gender neutral by using spouse. Wherever, beloved, man and woman is used, make it gender neutral by saying, beloved, person. And I will give you Lordship examples in the Special Marriage Act itself. So kindly, beloved, note this. Husband and wife should be used as spouse, and man and woman should be used as person. A large part of this, beloved, will solve our projected interpretation, beloved, of the Special Marriage Act. And what is good here must also apply across, beloved, the spectrum, at least of the acts, beloved, the examples of which I'm talking about. So that's why I said, beloved, 469 will fully apply by removing legislation into a mindset which is evident even today. Then, beloved, Lordship turns 471. 471 talked about reputable and disreputable sex. Kindly see, my lord, the last line of that page. If one accepts the proposition that public places are heteronormative and the same-sex sexual acts partially closeted, relegating homosexual acts into the private sphere would in effect reiterate the ambient heterosexism of the public space. Which means, my lord, in other words, the rule of majority in public spaces. It must be acknowledged that members belonging to sexual minorities are often subjected to harassment in public spaces. The right to sexual privacy, founded on the right of autonomy of a free individual, must capture the right of persons of the community to navigate public places on their own terms, free from state interference. What I'm really requesting, Milad, for a declaration of marriage is really a paraphrasing of this. When I walk into a public space, I walk into the public space with my partner, knowing that the law in the state recognizes this union as a marriage. Nobody will raise a finger of stigma against me. I walk into this public space. I walk into public employment. I walk into private employment. I walk in for pensions, gratuities, etc. That I am equal to the heterosexual group. And it's not that the heterosexual groups
All right, to news break that's just coming in from poll-bound Karnataka. The BJP has released list of star campaigners. That's of course the latest coming in. Remember, a lot of nominations are set to be filed today, which also includes BSY's son Vijendra as well. And with this, we're given to understand that the BJP today has also released list of the star campaigners. So 40 star campaigners have been announced by the BJP for assembly elections in the state, the list of which includes Prime Minister Modi, Jagat Prakash Nadda, the BJP President Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari, BS Yediyurappa as well. Let's go across to Prajwal, who's joining us live. Prajwal, take us through the star campaigners list that's been released by the BJP. Prajwal, if I'm not sure if I'm audible to you, if you can hear us, if you can take us through the details of the star campaigners list that's been released by the BJP.
You know, there are star campaigners who are there for the BJP party, mainly concentrating on South India. The star campaigners are being led by Shri Narendra Modi, Jai Prakash Nadda, and also the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. And we are also having Mr. Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari, BS Yediyurappa, and also DV Sadananda Gowda, KS Ishwarappa, Govind Karjol, Nirmala Sitaraman, Smriti Irani, Mansukh Mandavia, Dharmendra Pradhan. So all the Karnataka state election in charges are also there in this particular star campaigners list. But what is very interesting over here is the fact that the last three names, that is the 38, 39 and 40, there are also these stars who have political affiliations with the BJP. All the three of them had also served the BJP in various positions, some of them as MLC, one of them as an MLA as well. So we are having Jaggesh, Shruti and Tara Anuradha, three popular Sandalwood actors as well, who will be campaigning for the BJP in the state of Karnataka. And we are also seeing Mr. Arun Singh, CT Ravi. And what is very interesting was that on the 4th of May, it was expected that Mr. Yogi Adityanath will also be visiting Karnataka, and he will be visiting the old Mysuru region of Mandya. So now the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will also be there in Ramnagar and the old Mysuru region of Mandya, Maddur, Chanpatna, Mysuru and Kanakpura as well. Yogi Adityanath coming to the old Mysuru region will definitely give a huge boost to the prospects of the BJP candidates, because remember, this is on the backdrop of over crores of rupees that is now being sanctioned for the building of Ram Temple in Ramnagar as well. And there was a lot of politics which had gone over this particular issue, and now Yogi Adityanath also coming there to Ramnagar and Mandya especially will definitely go ahead and boost the prospects of the BJP in the upcoming assembly elections as well, Samiksha.
Yes. Prajwal, stay with us, and if you can give us a sense of where you're reporting from. You're reporting from Shigaon. We understand where JP Nadda and Bommai will be holding a massive roadshow today.
Samiksha, right now we are here at the Chennama Circle in Shigaon Assembly constituency, and this is just a glimpse of what is there, what is to behold over here, what is to take place now, because we are expecting shortly that Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai will be accompanied by the BJP National President JP Nadda and also superstar Kicha Sudeep, who will be campaigning for him. There will be a roadshow which will be held from Chennama Circle towards a ground here which is nearby for 1 kilometer. After the roadshow, there will be a huge convention where JP Nadda as well as Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai and Sudeep will address thousands of BJP workers as well. And after the addressing at the convention, they will head directly to the Tehsildar office where Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai will be filing his nominations. On the visuals on our screen, we are showing you right now the iconic Chennama Circle in Shigaon Assembly constituency where Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai and BJP National President will be garlanding the statue of Chennama. Apart from which, we are also seeing thousands of supporters, BJP supporters who have already gathered here, and also this huge garland that we were looking at, this garland right there on the screens to go ahead and garland Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai.
Yes.
There seems to be a rousing reception which is waiting for Chief Minister Baswaraj Bommai, who will be arriving here shortly in the next 10 to 15 minutes is what we get to understand at this point of time, Samiksha.
Yes. Stay with us, Prajwal, and let's take a word from Aneri as well, who's joining us live from Varuna, Bengaluru. Aneri, if you can also give us a sense of this place. We understand Siddaramaiah would be filing his nomination from this constituency today.
Well, that's right, Samiksha. We have been seeing how there has been a massive face-off between the BJP and the Congress, especially when we talk about the Varuna constituency, because it has been a very strong hold of Siddaramaiah, who is the opposition leader and also a senior Congress leader. And right now, as Siddaramaiah is at the hill shrine, before he moves to file his nomination, he is doing prayers at the hill shrine here, and also after which a mega roadshow will be held by Siddaramaiah. So definitely a series of roadshows, let it be from the BJP or the Congress, and also as you can see, as we continue to report from Varuna constituency, a large number of people have gathered, are soon going to gather here in Varuna constituency supporting Siddaramaiah, because this constituency has been having a strong hold of Siddaramaiah. So definitely all eyes on that. Large number of people are expected to join the roadshow, a show of strength by the Congress party, especially when we talk about Siddaramaiah, because we have been seeing that how Siddaramaiah had plans to...
All right, we'll go across to Aneri again, but for now, that's a big news break coming in from Bali, where Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha Dharwad Unit Executive Member Praveen Kumar Kamar has been murdered. He was brutally murdered by miscreants, is what we're given to understand. This murder has happened in Dharwad region of Karnataka. Now, the reason for the murder is still not known, but we understand that sources telling the public that it was a drunken brawl which turned violent and ultimately led to the murder of the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha Dharwad Unit Executive Member, which was Praveen Kumar. In this case, Prajwal getting us that breaking. Prajwal, give us more details of this news break that's just coming in.
Now we are getting to learn, Samiksha, that the BJP Yuva Morcha's Dharwad Unit's executive member and the Kottur Gram Panchayat vice president Praveen Kumar has been, murdered now. And somewhere now we also saw that the BJP South parliamentarian Tejasvi Surya is stating that this is a murder by his political rivals as well. But as of now, the top cops in the district are stating that unknown miscreants who were drunk have gone ahead and attacked Praveen Kumar for personal reasons too, and investigations are underway, and it will be too early to go ahead and call this a political murder too. But seems like that Dharwad is boiling because of the fact that Praveen has been murdered, and he was quite a popular Yuva Morcha leader too. And now many of the BJP leaders in the state are going ahead and calling for action in this particular case which has taken place. But we will have to wait in for an official word from the commissioner himself as to what was the reason for the murder. Now a case has already been registered at the police station now, and we are still waiting whether the assailants have been taken into custody or not. It is being stated that a few of the people on suspicion have already been taken into custody, but right now the investigation is still underway, and only after which the police can go ahead and give a complete report as to what was exactly the cause for this murder.
Prajwal, thank you for the moment. We'll keep coming back to you. So for now, BJP alleging calling it a political murder, remains to be seen what really goes into and what comes out of the probe into this. But for now, that's the news break that's just coming in. A murder which has happened, and this is of the BJP Yuva Morcha, who is found dead in Dharwad. We slip into a very short break, but top stories to continue on the other side of the break.
Do you think there is a certain motivated opposition that is trying to wield control over the top court?
Anyone who chooses to misbehave with the Supreme Court and causes misdemeanor should be taken to task by the court itself. I think we just need some judges just needs to get angry with this kind of behavior and take a call on it and take contempt notice on such people. Things will improve automatically.
इस देश में बहुत समय के बाद एक ऐसी सरकार आई है जो सरकार टिकाने के लिए नहीं चल रही, देश को सुधारने के लिए सरकार चल रही है।
ये पहला एक बड़ा इवेंट हुआ है जहां पे आप इस पर विस्तृत तौर से इन डिटेल आप बात करेंगे, तो लेट अस एड्रेस ऑल इश्यूज।
The throne of the leadership I convey to Prime Minister Modi of India.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी G20 इवेंट के दौरान नेताओं के साथ द्विपक्षीय बैठक करेंगे।
How tough is it for a sportsman or an athlete to get out of this phase and emerge victorious eventually?
The contest between the ball and a bat, I think whether it's the World Cup final or it's any other game, I know it's difficult. It's difficult to accept that it's another game of cricket, but that is how a sportsman needs to think, and that is how I prepared myself. Because ultimately, whether it's the World Cup final or it's the first game of the World Cup, the contest is not the World Cup final. The contest is between the bowler and a batsman. So ultimately, I have to beat the next ball which I end up playing, and I've got to do the best of my whatever I could of the next particular delivery. So that is how I approach both the World Cup finals. Rather than thinking about the platform, rather than thinking about the occasion, it is about just watching the ball and reacting to it.
World leaders have promised everything to everyone in the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Not surprisingly, the world and all the G20 countries are vastly off track to deliver. Even India won't deliver everything, but India has improved faster than any other G20 nation from 2015 to 19. India shows that prioritizing achievable, deliverable development matters. Yet the rich world incessantly stress climate change. And yes, climate is a challenge, but one of many. And currently, climate policies cost trillions of dollars, yet deliver trivial temperature reductions in a century from now. In a world where we can't do everything, India is uniquely placed to demand the world focus on the most efficient development policies first. Growth, jobs, education, health is at the top of India's priorities, as it is across most of the world. Climate is there too, but nowhere near the top. I will talk about how smart policies can help India and the world achieve amazing progress for little money. Better education, ending tuberculosis, more trade, lower mortality for mothers and infants, higher agricultural production, and better nutrition. Chairing the G20, India can help all of us focus on the smartest solutions for the challenges faced by the Global South. I'll challenge popular opinion at India's biggest news event, the Republic Summit, which is by far India's most high-profile event. I'll see you there.
dragging back economic fugitives, fantastic. But a crackdown on corruption alone is not enough to steer the economy.
That is where the reforms are not just to remove those who are with several cases of corruption and disproportionate assets. This will ensure that at a local level, no officer can go about saying, hey, I've come to inspect you, without the system approving it.
You come from the northeast, but then the concept of integrated India, Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat Ka, this concept is very relevant to every state and specifically the northeast.
So I think it's the balance and between that, and I think the leadership along with the...
Well, good morning. The third edition of the Republic Summit will be held in the national capital this month. The biggest names, the biggest newsmakers, the biggest agents of change and transformation in India will be at the Republic Summit once again. So stand by for what will be by far India's biggest news event by miles. Now, India's transformation is for us to celebrate together, to take pride in it together. What does this time of transformation mean to you? Tell us what this transformation means to you. Send us your video on it via WhatsApp on 730-443-4381. The most compelling responses will get in-house seats to India's biggest news event. Join us in celebrating this time of transformation. You are watching Live and Breaking, and as a quick recap of the top headlines at 11:30. The mafia don Atiq Ahmed's assailants are to be produced in court today. Uttar Pradesh SIT seeks remand. Landmark hearing to recognize same-sex marriages continues in the Supreme Court. The battle for Karnataka heats up. Mega road shows are lined up as big wigs are set to file nominations. Apple's CEO Tim Cook will be meeting the Prime Minister today.
Instead of allowing for a free and fair probe and inquiry into these allegations to determine what is the truth and to take action against the perpetrator of such kind of harassment and discrimination.
Assam Congress Youth President alleges harassment by BV Srinivas and inaction by the top brass. The BJP hits out. Unrest continues in Sudan. Death toll now rises to 270. Over 2,000 suffer critical injuries. Well, the Supreme Court has set aside the Bombay High Court order acquitting Professor G.N. Sai Baba in a case linked to Maoists. Now, the case has been remanded and will now be decided